continue after a little bit of a hiatus with our class on Mareh Yaakov. As we do every time, we're going to try to go to the parsha we just read and perhaps gain some insight. So we just read Kitavo, and the parsha begins with a paragraph that we're all probably rather familiar with from a different context. So it begins with something called Vidui Maaser. It begins with what happens when you bring the first of the new fruit, and we go through all of the sentences that you happen to see in Haggadah Pesach. We go through that story, and we bring the Maaser, and then after that paragraph, there is a continuation of this sentence that you're supposed to say to the Kohen when you've brought this basket of the first fruits. And after all of the things that we tell God that we've done correctly, and we've brought everything in its appropriate quantity, and we haven't defiled it in any way, and we've brought it at the appropriate time, and there's a cycle. There is a first tithe that you give to the Levite. There's a second tithe that two of every 3 years you eat by yourself in Jerusalem, and the third year you give that portion to the poor, and that there are 2 3-year cycles like that, and then the 7th year is Shemitah. So once you've completed this cycle, you say this Vidui Maaser, and the very last sentence is one that is very noteworthy. It begins with a song. So what we say is, Hashkifa miman kodechecha min hashamayim. God should look down from His heavenly abode from the sky, uvarech et amcha Yisrael, and bless Israel. V'yatza haaretz, and you should bless the land. So Rashi comes out and tells us that this is a quid pro quo. Because we've done exactly what we were supposed to do with Truma and Maaser, we're telling God, now you have to do your part. And this is in fact the only mitzvah that has that aspect of quid pro quo that Rashi brings out explicitly. There is a similar practice with Birkat Kohanim. So we find the same thing after the blessing that the Kohen gives. There is a paragraph that the Kohen will say to himself, and he in fact invokes this same sentence, and he says, because I blessed the people properly, you have to now give what you were supposed to give. So the question is, why are we allowed to do this in this instance? And the commonest answer that's given, why we are allowed to invoke God to keep up His half of the bargain if we kept up our half of the bargain. I mean, we do lots of other mitzvot, we do lots of other things that might be difficult. Why don't we say, if we did that, then you should give us this. If we did that, you should give us this. Why is this the only time that we're sort of insistent on this? And it's because of the cycle that's there. You're looking after the Levite every year, and you're looking after the poor 2 out of the 7 years. So you're making sure that everybody else is looked after. Because everybody else is looked after, then we're saying, okay, we've looked after your other people. It's not something that we're asking for personally. We've looked after ourselves as a nation, and therefore we deserve. So because it's a communal mitzvah, and we're talking about what we've done for others, then we get quid pro quo there. Similarly, the Kohanim, when they say, we've looked after your people, we've blessed your people properly, so you have to fulfill that. Again, that's something that is selfless and deserves this aspect of quid pro quo because it's not a personal request. So we're going to look at the sentence a little bit, and we're going to say, Hashkifa, look down. This is a klisha ktana. So So remember, Shlisha Ktana always comes at the end of the word, and then has a second note that's on the syllable that's emphasized. But because it always comes at the end of the word, it's something that's looking forward. So when we're asking God that He's got to do what He's got to do His half, we're not saying, look back at what we did. We're saying, going forward, you're going to have to do what you said. So that's why we use a Tlisha Ktana, a note that looks forward from that point and emphasizes that God has to look and see, and that's what will make the actions go forward. Mim'on kochecha kadman azla. This is something that emphasizes the place from the place of your holiness. So this is going to begin the phrase, that's going to end the phrase. This is from the place that God has defined is going to get an emphasis, but sweeping forward into the fact that He has imbued His place with holiness is what's going to finish the phrase, is going to close off that idea. So where God is imbued with holiness that He did, min hashamayim, from the heavens, from above. And we'll remember that Revi'i makes the word sort of stand alone, but it also says that something has come from the top to the bottom. So we'll notice we sort of have a triangle up and a triangle down sort of put together, and the concept is that heavenly intervention in the world, heavenly radiation into the world, is something that streams down. It's not something that's isolated. So we have an isolated place where God is sitting by Himself, and then we have Shamayim, a place where God is putting influence from His realm into our realm, somewhere where above shines down into below. So that's why we have the Revi'i there. Uvarech, and you should bless. This is a pashta, so this emphasizes the note but draws our attention forward. Et amcha. I'm sorry, I did the wrong note there. That's why it was sounding strange to me. That is incorrect. That is a mahapach. So, Uvarech should be under the resh, not under the resh. Should be under the resh, not under the beit. And you should bless. So a mahapach draws everything that's come forward, but focuses it into everything that's come from before, and focuses it into what's going to go forward. So we're saying you have to draw the blessing from everything that we've done and focus it forward onto Amcha, your nation. So because we have been faithful not only to ourselves, but to the other members of the nation, so that's why we say Amcha et Yisrael. Your nation of Israel, whether they have been good or not, our action of fulfilling this is going to give them some influence from above. We hope that's what's going to happen. So we have the blessing on Yisrael with the katon, with that two-part note. So we see how the Midrash's explanation of what Rashi says, that we're asking for the quid pro quo, fits into the sentence and fits into the notes here. So that's this week.
I can't help thinking that the two Lishat, Katanot, and Hashkifa, they look like a pair of eyes looking down. Physically, you sometimes get that physical illustration as well.
I'm not sure that would apply every time we have a Tlisha Gdala, Tlisha Ktana, but
on the word Hashkifa, look.
It's very poetic here.
The two like eyes, yeah.
So we're going to pause for a second and we'll find the ring. Okay?